Next up, a very exciting demo. We are joined by Pascal from Firefly Studios, and we are looking at Stronghold Warlords. Hello, Pascal. How are you?
I'm good. Fine.
Thanks for joining us. Before we jump straight into the demo, I was hoping you could maybe set the game up, maybe explain Stronghold Warlords for people who don't know the series and maybe this specific entry.
Yeah. So Stronghold is quite an old series. First game came out 2001. It's a medieval real-time strategy castle building game. And the idea behind it is that you have quite a complex castle economy. And one of the main focuses in that castle is making sure that the people, your population, that they're happy.
Right.
So you want to be popular. And there's a few things that factor into that. The amount of food that you provide them. So the food you farm, you give to them constantly. You set the rations. You set taxes. Obviously, the more taxes you take from them, the less popular you're going to be as a leader.
Makes sense.
And depending on that popularity, people will either come to you or they're going to leave your castle. So in order to keep everything inside your castle functioning and the economy, you need to make sure people are happy.
Right.
And so that's a delicate balance. There's a few other factors that come in. In Stronghold Warlords, you can give tea to them, you can provide them clothing. There's a couple of resources that you can provide that will either make them happier or make them dislike you as a leader. And so once you have a functioning economy, then you build your castle, you build your defenses. Your opponent will do that as well. And, well, as in most castle building games, it's then a question of building an army, going up to the other guy and destroying the castle and taking them over. And a match is lost or won when either your own lord or the opponent lord is dead, is defeated. So there's this one central character. When he dies, then the game is over.
And what's in the demo that we're seeing today?
Right, here we have a scenario with 15 minutes. So it's about 15 minutes of survival. So what we're going to see in a moment, that there's already a bit of castle structure there. We have a few walls, we have a few buildings. And I'll explain the exact relations between the buildings in a moment. And we are surrounded by the so-called warlords. Now, this is a new part in the Stronghold series. These are independent characters. They're not like AI lords that you play against, but they have their castles and their keeps on the map. And you can either gain their support diplomatically or by force. And your opponent can do that as well. So by force would be to send over the troops and, well, take over the castle. Diplomatically would be using diplomacy points, which is a new resource in the game. And once they're on your side, you can tell them to either send you resources, to build their castle, to have a stronger defense before the enemy comes. And here we'll have 3 of these warlords with us on the map, and we'll have the enemy attacking from the top right. And the idea is to survive those 15 minutes of attacks, of the waves coming through. And raining down on their castle.
Do you think you've got good chances of winning today?
Yes.
Well, let's see.
I think, let's see.
It's exciting, the moment of truth. This is what I'm letting you play.
Yeah, Stronghold is quite a complex game. I also found we've had a few players today try it out here in Hall 7 that have played Stronghold in their childhood, and it kind of awoke those memories. And it even took them a while to get into it again. So as you can see, we already see a lot here. There's a few central. The keyboard isn't working.
Oh. It's a good start.
Yes, here we go. You can also do it by mouse, but it's easier with keyboard. So this is our lord. This is the guy that we need to protect. Up here we can see the turtle warlord. He's already starting to build his castle defense, and if we go into the warlord screen, then we see that he's already on our side. So we're the red player, and the blue attacks will be coming from up there. We could spend these diplomacy points now to upgrade his castle, for instance. And then he's going to start building some archer towers to make sure that the enemies that come through here first have to go through him. Then here we go. We have the Tiger Warlord. In this scenario, he's not building any castle. But when he's on our side, we can get him to send us troops as reinforcement. Now, as a lot of Stronghold veterans know, one of the most important resources is wood. No, that was rice. So we always need wood. But I think the most known phrase in all of Stronghold is "wood needed, my lord," because our scribe always tells us when resources are missing. So I'm going to buy some more here.
Stockpile.
Yeah, and the way the resource gathering works here, we have a stockpile here where the stone and the wood and all these types of resources are gathered. And so we have the workers that go to the wood camp, then they go into the woods, get the tree, go back to the wood camp, and bring that then here. So that means the closer we build our resource buildings to one another, the more we actually produce, because the less time they spend walking, the more they can chop wood. And same for the food. So as I mentioned earlier, our popularity depends on how much food we provide. We have down here the popularity index. So right now it's green, people are happy. If I set the rations higher, they'll be even happier. I believe on this screen some of it's cut off, but we see it on the one there. Same goes if I now raise the taxes. People are going to like us a little less. And we always have to keep that balance, because as long as it's positive, people will come to our castle and man the farms. And now here we see the first attacks coming in. And we already have a few walls. We can close this gap here now. It's not going to be the most beautiful castle, but it's going to
It'll get the job done for 15 minutes.
Exactly.
That's the aim.
So here, the Ox Warlord, he's all about resources. So I'm actually going to use the diplomacy points that we have, demand his obedience, so he is now ours, and ask him to send us some stones. So for the next minute, every 10 seconds, he's going to send us some resources, some stones. And we can upgrade these warlords in order to provide even better boosts. And to explain a bit the concept of how these resource chains work, so we have our woodcutters who bring wood to the stockpile. Here we have a Fletcher's workshop. Now in order for him to work, we need an armory. We want to place that close to the Fletcher's workshop and the stockpile, because this worker will now go over to the stockpile, get a piece of wood, bring that to the Fletcher's workshop, make the bow, and then bring that to the armory, where we can then use it as a resource to recruit new troops. And so we have a lot of these chains in the game, these resource chains, where we need to make sure that things are placed close to each other and that we have all the parts of the chain in order to provide what we want. So now we see we have a negative popularity, so people are leaving the castle. Okay, now it's positive again, otherwise that would have been a problem. In this demo, there's one troop that we can recruit, that's the archer. We need to wait for some bows before we can do that. But since we have a lot of gold, I'm going to get us an embassy, which generates more diplomacy points, just to show what this new part, this new feature is like. There's one also very new aspect in Stronghold, and that is all the Strongholds have played in medieval Europe or in the deserts, so during the Crusades. And this one, obviously, as we see, plays in the Far East Asia, and they were a bit ahead of us in terms of technology in those times. They had gunpowder. And we found an interesting fact in history books, so we try to be very historically accurate with these games, is that they sometimes use oxen, and they strapped gunpowder to those oxen and rockets and sent them into... at least that's something we found in one of the books, and we loved that idea. So once the new attack comes in...
time to go and sacrifice our suicide oxen.
Our suicide ox, exactly. In this demo, we're not able to create him, but we can get him by upgrading the Ox Warlord and then requesting some forces, and he's going to send over these 3 oxes.
I just hope they enter our castle very carefully.
Yes.
Like, don't bump into anything.
It's dangerous. So fire is a very big aspect in the Stronghold games. If one of them should start exploding, let's say here, and bring the Fletcher's workshop to burn, that fire spreads.
Right.
So fire spreads within a castle, so you want to build wells in order to make sure that your entire economy isn't ruined. This is a very popular tactic in multiplayer games, so there's going to be multiplayer as well in the final product, where people just send in fire into the enemy castle and try to burn down everything. Because if you forgot to make a well, then you're pretty much screwed. Right, so the attacks are still quite easy. They're trying to take over the Turtle Warlord now. We could reinforce him now. I'm not sure if that would still help defeat this attack, so I'm gonna... Oh yeah, it seems to be going well. I'll give him a bit of an upgrade.
How many times have you played this demo? Have you been practicing?
I already played it twice today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you win?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But I wasn't explaining it to anyone while doing so.
Getting the excuses in.
So we'll see what happens. The attacks do get stronger. Yeah, we're going to have, same as in the previous titles, it's going to be story campaigns that are going to follow some of the historical figures of that time.
Right.
And it's going to also follow a few civilizations, so it's going to be in feudal Japan. Some of the campaigns are going to play in China and Mongolia, so we're kind of exploring these different areas in Far East Asia and telling those stories.
How long has the team been working on the game for?
We officially started a few years ago. It's always been there as a concept. We are a fairly small team and have always a few projects running at the same time.
Right.
So there's usually only like 1 or 2 core programmers working on each title at a time, and when it comes closer to release, then we'll have a few more for the polish and for the final development. This is now the first playable alpha demo, and we're expecting to release the game in the course of next year.
Okay. Well, they're coming for you now. So is the Turtle Warlord lost? Is he still doing his thing?
The Turtle Warlord, he's been taken over.
Okay.
So we could either send troops there now and take him back, or demand his obedience. But I think he's disappointed us enough that we're gonna work with the others. So having gunpowder also means you can use rocket towers, for instance. We can't build where the enemy is near, but this I think is a great example. Oh yeah, I should have paid a bit more attention to what's happening here. So there.
Oh no.
We kind of see the carnage. We kind of like that, having the ox pieces fly. The trebuchets are able to catapult animals. So in the previous game, it was a cow. Well, different types of animals, but the cow is the most popular one. We're still deciding which animal will be used in this version. Some have suggested a panda, but I don't think we can do that.
I don't know. I don't know if that's what the panda community are hoping for.
Yeah, I think we've already lost PETA as sponsors for this game.
What are those?
Those are laddermen.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So what they do is they come up to the wall, and they...
Oh no!
I think it was exactly that, them trying to scale that wall.
Oh no!
This is as I said, alpha, right?
Alpha.
This happens sometimes.
Yeah, that's okay.
So laddermen are actually one of the units. They were in the earlier games. So we've had a few iterations of Stronghold over the years. And they weren't part of the last 2 titles. And those were one of the units that the community asked for the most after we released our previous title. And so in this game we have all these new features, but we're also bringing in a lot of the parts from older games that were kind of lost in between for us trying new strategies and new ways. And we asked the community, hey, what do you want in this one, because we want to include as much as possible from the fan favorites, and those laddermans were one of the things.
But they were just too good. They were just too good for this castle.
Yeah, they were.
They overwhelmed us. Well, unfortunately, I don't know if we've got time to make through the 50-minute demo again. If there's anything else you'd like to show in the demo?
I think the general aspect I was able to show there. What's really new about this is the warlord system. So having that extra layer of strategy on top with the new resource of diplomacy points, which we didn't have before. And I think a lot of the old Stronghold players, they'll find a lot of features that they love and that they look for in these titles.